Shadows of Salem Hill. Detective John Harper rubbed his tired eyes, peering at the map of Salem Hill dotted with red marks. Each mark represented another victim, another mystery, another step towards the abyss into which the entire town seemed to be sinking. 4 murders in a month, and not a single lead. Sheriff Donovan's call interrupted his gloomy thoughts. "Harper, we've got another body. Same place." John sighed, threw on his worn jacket, and stepped out into the cool New England morning. The old church, on the outskirts of town, greeted him with an ominous silence. Inside, on the cold stone floor, lay a young woman. Her body was contorted in an unnatural pose, as if in some macabre dance. Strange symbols were drawn in chalk around her. John leaned over the body, his gaze catching on a familiar detail, a small tattoo on the victim's neck. He had seen the same on the bodies of other victims, and not just in this case. Memories flooded in suddenly, like a wave of ice water. 20 years ago, he, a young detective, sitting at a desk piled with photographs of victims. The same tattoos, the same symbols. A case that remained unsolved. Back at the station, John immersed himself in studying old files. Something was eluding his attention, some detail connecting the past and present. In the evening, he decided to visit Sarah Bishop, a local historian and, as rumor had it, a witch of the 7th generation. Sarah seemed to be expecting him, opening the door before he could knock. "Detective Harper." "I knew you would come," she said with a faint smile. In the living room, filled with books and strange artifacts, Sarah opened an ancient tome before him. On the yellowed pages, John saw a familiar symbol, the same one tattooed on the victims' bodies. "This is the sign of the Guardians," Sarah explained. "An ancient cult protecting Salem Hill from dark forces. These murders, they repeat cyclically, every 20 years. John shook his head in disbelief. "You're talking about the supernatural? Seriously?" Sarah looked at him with sympathy. "I'm talking about what you don't want to see, Detective. About the shadows that have haunted our town for centuries. Salem Hill holds many secrets, and some of them are better left undisturbed." The next morning, John was met with unexpected news. A witness had seen a suspicious person near the church, a tall man in a black cloak with a tattoo similar to those on the victims. John's heart raced. He knew who it could be. A man he had thought dead for 20 years. The cemetery greeted him with a damp fog. John walked among the tilted gravestones until he stopped at an old crypt. The door slowly opened, and out stepped a tall man in black. "Hello, John. I've been waiting for you," said Michael Crow, the man John once considered his mentor. The man he had seen dead 20 years ago. How is this possible? John felt reality slipping away from under his feet. Michael smiled. "Death is just a door, John. A door I've learned to open." Why these murders? Why all this horror? "To protect the town," Michael replied, and in his eyes John saw a glimmer of something ancient and frightening. "Each victim is a seal, holding back the darkness, but now the seals are broken, and the darkness is returning." As if in response to his words, the sky suddenly darkened. Black smoke began to swirl around Michael, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Dark figures, shapeless and terrifying, began to rise from the graves. "What's happening?" John felt fear paralyzing his body. "This is a choice, John." Michael's voice now seemed to come from everywhere. "Become a guardian, or let the darkness consume everything." John looked at his hand and saw with horror the familiar tattoo appearing on his skin. He could feel an ancient power flowing through his veins, offering strength and knowledge. At that moment, he realized he was at a crossroads. Accept the gift and become a guardian, protecting the town at the cost of others' lives, or fight the darkness, risking losing everything? The shadows thickened around him, whispering ancient secrets. Salem Hill held its breath, waiting for the decision of its new protector. John closed his eyes, feeling the past and future intertwining into one knot. When he opened them, determination burned in his gaze. He took a step forward towards his fate and the fate of an entire town. The shadows of Salem Hill surrounded him, ready to reveal their secrets. The story was just beginning.